Thank you for joining us and welcome to the 106th session of Majlis Khonji. Please allow me to introduce our guest for this session, Mr. Habib Beaini, Senior Partner and Director of Strategy at Biscuit, a brand transformation consultancy. He believes in the responsibility of business to improve our everyday lives and has dedicated his career to helping clients create greater values for their customers through the power of their brands. I would like also to welcome Mr. Hafid Al-Harthi, co-founder and senior partner at Biscuit, who will take us through a brief about the company and our guest. Welcome to Majlis Khonji. Mr. Hafid, over to you. Thank you very much.
جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مساكم الله بالخير. في البداية نيابة عني وعن زملائي في بسكت نود التقدم بجزيل الشكر للقائمين على هذا المجلس المبارك ولإتاحتهم هذه الفرصة لنا لتبادل المعرفة عبر هذه المنصة. I'll switch to English. Good evening. My name is Hafid Al-Harthi, co-founder and senior partner at Biscuit. Well, a quick overview about our company. Biscuit's the only brand consultancy in the region that helps transforming business by designing it from the customer's point of view, empowering them to be the catalyst for long-term value creation. We are a collective of best-in-class brand and marketing experts that bring together a unique blend of consultancy, creativity, and activation know-how from multiple business sectors, geographies, and cultures. The result is the capacity and capability to help our clients create and launch brands that disrupt markets and thrive on the world stage. We operate from Oman, UAE, and UK with a diverse client network across the globe and their plan to expansion to other markets. Our core purpose is to help regional businesses transform into leading global brands. Our topic tonight presents insights highlighting the relationship between business and its customers in today's world. My colleague will expand on that in the introduction of our presentation. Now, speaking of my colleague, I'll just add more to what has been already said. Habib began his career with the original digital disruptor, Getty Images. Some of you might be aware of this platform. He established the regional operation in 1998 and positioning the brand as the only digital visual content provider for the professionals at that time and until today. In 2001, he moved across as managing partner of GCCS, which by 2008 grew into the region's largest brand agency before merging with WPP's Fitch. He founded and headed Ninth Space, an independent brand consultancy as one of the region's premium brand and branding services provider for nearly 20 years. In recent years, Habib and I co-founded Biscuit, and his current work or his previous experience includes extensive strategy, branding, and retail design work for Abu Dhabi government, UAE federal government, Dubai government, UAE Prime Minister's Office, Mubadala, Dolphin Energy, Emirates Airlines, Landmark Group, Kamal Jumjum Group, KSA, Dubai Expo 2020, Emaar, Dubai Holding, Majid Al Futtaim, Aldar Properties, Tandeem Group, Jumeirah, Khazan National, Ratana, Karsner, Four Seasons. I could go on with the list. It's quite long, in fact. So there are many other prominent brands that Habib has worked with. Now, I would like to pass this to Habib, and he may start the presentation. Habib, over to you.
Thank you, Hafid. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity. It's an honor. I'm humbled to be in front of you. I hope this presentation lives up to your expectations. It's a very top-line presentation. Please interrupt me at any time. I'm used to having discussions throughout the presentations that we do. I'll just share my screen so that everybody can see. Please let me know if everybody can see the presentation.
It's clear, thank you.
Thank you very much. So today's topic is about the relationship between brand and business, or business and brand. We've titled it, You Know Your Business, but Who Owns Your Brand? It's a very strange title. Things have changed since the beginning of the century, when brands were this packaging that we created around our business. And what I want to do today is just pose that thinking and give a little bit of insight as to where business has gone. So our topic presents this top-level insight that highlights the interrelationship between business and its customer, especially in today's world. Now, as I'm talking and as I'm going through the presentation, as a backdrop, I would like you to just consider the following things. The first is, has the purpose of business changed in today's world? As Mr. Simon mentioned, you've been in business for many years, and today's world is markedly different to when we all started our careers. Has today's world changed the purpose of business? Is having the right product or service, being in the right place at the right time, with the right pricing and the right marketing enough today to succeed and to actually differentiate and grow? The next question I'd like you just to consider in the back of your minds is this: is there a new formula for success in today's dynamic digital age, where we have hyper-aware consumers and customers with a very global mindset? Our customers changed. We can no longer think on a local or regional level. Should this matter to business? And how can your business or role as a leader influence and leverage these insights that we're going to show you? How can you respond to create more value for your own businesses and the people they serve? So just a little bit of food for thought as I go through this presentation. And the big question is here, what has brand got anything to do with this? And it's one of the biggest questions I get asked all the time. My journey always begins with contact with a client or a business leader of some sort. And then we start to discuss how we can help to overcome the challenges, overcome the problems, and also leverage the opportunities that they might have in place. And this is always the primary question that I ask. What is the primary purpose of your business? What are you trying to do? Why does your business exist? Most of the times, and there'd be no fault in doing so, the answer is quite simple, and the answer is to make a profit. Every private enterprise is there to make a profit. Of course it is. But then I ask, how do we do that? How will we do that? How will we make a profit? And that's when the real discussions start to come in place. And that's when thought-provoking ideas and strategies and tactics and big major discussions start to flow. How are we going to make a profit? Well, the answer is always, we'll sell our products and our services to customers. And this is when things get really interesting, because now we're getting to the essence of the primary purpose of any business, which takes us into another iteration. Let's ask the question again. What is the primary purpose of your business? And I can distill it down into, after years of experience on this, I can distill it down to this sentence. The primary purpose is to get more people to buy more stuff for more years at a higher price. And I don't think anybody can fault me in that. Every private business, every business that is out there is trying to grow. And they're trying to get more people to buy more things from them for longer at a higher price. Nobody wants to drop their price. But the real word that we need to look out for, the real important part of this sentence is just one word. It's this: people. Business is about people. Everything is centered around people. Without people, we have nothing to sell. We can't grow. We have no employees. And I'll take a quote from Peter Drucker, who is a much cleverer man than I ever will be. He's considered and coined as the sort of father of modern business management. And this is an extract from a longer quote of his. And he says, the purpose of business is to create and keep a customer. Profit is actually a test of its validity. If we can create and keep a customer and then sell to them for a longer period of time, more stuff, we will be profitable. We should be profitable. And if we are profitable, it is validating what we do. And that really comes down to the crux of the matter, that a business is all about its customer. So where does this brand idea come in? Well, a customer's impression of a business is called a brand. And I'm sure all of you have heard definitions for brand over and over again throughout the years. But for me, this is probably the simplest definition. The way a customer sees your business, the way a customer thinks of and feels about your business is built over a long period of time. It's built over many different experiences, many different interactions. Their opinion is formed out of all of these parts. So this impression develops over time, and it's based on how they think of, feel about, and experience a company, a product, or a service. And you can see this with these massive queues that we used to get and still do every time the famous Apple launches a new product. People literally gather around like they want their product as the very first thing. Is it really the product that they want? Or is it them wanting to be a part of what Apple is, or what Apple is saying and doing? And that's really something that we have to think about. But the opposite is also true. And brands are not just an external expression. If we're talking about people, you have people working for you. So brands is also an internal expression, what people internally think of your business. This example is an amazing example, and it happened around, I believe, 2016. Fast food employees all over the world, particularly McDonald's employees, they went on strike, and they managed to do what was considered, and probably still up to now, the most global strike in history. Over 300 cities, over 40 countries, excuse me. They went out and they were protesting against unfair practices and wage rates. The action was actually coined McJobs. They coined it McJobs. And it went further than just McDonald's. It became a global movement to do with this idea of unfair practices and wage rates in fast food companies. So this not loving it idea also came out because their tagline, basically McDonald's tagline is, "I'm loving it." And this not loving it idea became the slogan for this movement. Signs all over the world appeared in as many places and in as many languages as "I'm loving it," which is the original McDonald's version. And all sorts of guerrilla media went out there. Not only that, but on the right-hand side there, a a manifesto was written to do with best practices, how to overcome low wages, low standards around the world for these sorts of workers. And you can see there that the McDonald's clown is the oppressor. Now, this went beyond McDonald's. This wasn't just to do with McDonald's. You know, although the protest was against the whole fast food industry, people, employees and activists labeled it McJobs. It's directly associated with McDonald's. They literally got branded by the people negatively. And that's the power of customers. That's how they link with your brand as such. So this relationship that we're talking about between brand and business and brand is literally a matter of perspective. We see our business through our internal lens. We see it the right way up or the wrong way up. It doesn't matter. We see it through our internal lens. The customer sees it from an external lens. That lens is called the brand. And please stop me at any point in between the chapters if you like. I'm happy to cut and talk and discuss these points. They're very top level, but I will carry on if there are no questions. Let's look at customer power. So today we live in the information age. Well, more rightly, we live in the democratization of that information age. And let me explain that. The information age is the internet and everything to do with the internet. However, democratization of the information age is the ability for anyone not only to be a consumer of information, but also to be an editor, a producer, an opinion maker, a thought leader, and just be able to post out there whatever information, whatever content they want to. And that really just changes the whole playing field. Traditional marketing is to push information that you want to as a business to the audiences that you decide should be receiving it. And you push the information that you want in order to get them to buy from you or to create the need for them to buy from you. That doesn't work anymore. That is the old way. And the reasons for that are these. Today we have around 6.4 billion people using smartphones all over the world. Now, if we turn that into a percentage of a population, that's over 80% of the world's population is holding one of these devices, sometimes more than one. All of them are, or most of them are connected to the internet. They have access literally to most information out there that they can want to or feel like reaching. About 4.5 billion of them are social media users. That's over 56% of the world's population. And social media is the platform for open discussions, opinions. It is uncontrolled, and we know the good parts and the bad parts of it, albeit we have almost more than half, or I'd say definitely more than half of the world's population on social media. Now, in fact, they have more than one account on social media. On average, they have about 8.4 accounts, and most of us probably have 2 or 3 accounts. We have our own personal social media accounts and maybe some professional social media accounts. We might be on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. We might be on Instagram or Facebook. And that has gone up, funnily enough, between 2014 and 2020 by 75%. Now, the incredible thing is that people spend on average 2 hours and 45 minutes absorbing content on social media. Let me put it differently. They're absorbing opinions on social media. They're absorbing and making decisions on social media. Media or content that is not controlled by your business. Another statistic that's, that's staggering is 2.14, almost 2.15 billion people are what we call global digital buyers, buy stuff online. 2.14 billion, which account for around 18% of retail sales worldwide. So 1 in 5 transactions is made online. Now, 80% of these buyers conduct research before buying. They go and they look up and they find out. Now, they're going all over the internet, obviously, to do that. They might ask people offline, but if they've got that device at hand, they're looking for it online. And 80% of those buyers actually trust the advice of friends and family over business. They will ask their uncles, their mums, their brothers, their sisters, what do you think of this? As opposed to read the stuff business writes about their own products or services. And that's an incredible number. And that's what I mean by democratization of information. So let me summarize that. 80% trust the advice of friends and family over business. 1.7 billion people are advised by peers, not by advertising or marketing. Advertising and marketing sends out the initial information. It sends out information and awareness on the product or service. But the ultimate decision-making process, the advice that we get as consumers and customers, 80% of us look for advice from people we trust. That's around 20% of the world's population. That's an incredible number. I'm going to coin this statement. Customers own the reputation of your business. They own it in the mind, not in actual physical or monetary sense. They own it in the mind. And if I change the word reputation, it is brand. Brand is just another word for reputation, because that's what you're trying to build. You're trying to build a reputation that becomes your brand. They own that. And the question here is, how do we control that? How do we curate that? How do we manage that? How do we direct that? Let's look at Coca-Cola as an example. Excuse me. Coca-Cola essentially sell sugared water. That's what they do, and they do an incredible job of it in every way. And through their advertising, through their slogans, they talk about the feeling around enjoying the product. They never talk about the ingredients of the product. They never talk about what's in the product. They actually keep that as a secret. They talk about the feeling around, or the feeling one has when they are absorbing, when they're using, when they're enjoying this product. And that feeling they've coined as open happiness. So effectively, Coca-Cola doesn't sell sugared water. They sell the idea of happiness. Because in the mind, that's what the consumer is buying into. They're buying into this feeling of happiness. When I drink Coke, I'm drinking a bit of happiness. Now, they have valued, this is not my valuation, this is Coca-Cola's own valuation of their market capital. They have valued their non-brand marketing cap at 50 billion, with the brand 120 billion. They believe their brand, and I'm sure they've got their information right to a certain extent, is worth around 70 billion US dollars. So that mindset, that capturing of the imagination, that perception in the customer's mind to them is worth $70 billion. And I don't know if you've recently seen the Euro 2020 football, but this fine gentleman decides, and I'll tell the story for those who haven't seen it. Ronaldo, I mean, he's a hero in football, millions and billions of followers. He has a dispute somehow with Coca-Cola. I won't get into that right now. And Coca-Cola is a sponsor, and they've got him on one of their rosters. And they put 2 bottles of Coca-Cola in front of him, and he decides he's going to remove them. So he removes them from this press conference. He removes these 2 bottles out of the way, and he picks up a bottle of water, and he goes, agua. And the repercussions of that, and this is investors that actually reacted, not customers. Investors reacted in this way. The repercussion of that was very quickly after that, I mean, we're talking about hours, their share price dropped by $2.4 billion. Now, it was linked to him. Was it necessarily him? It was pretty close, and it was very much a reaction for that drop to happen so severely. Now, Coca-Cola is a strong brand. I'm sure this drop would have been temporary, and I'm sure they would have overcome it. But what it does demonstrate is, and what it highlights, is the influence that personalities have on the trust instilled in brands. People we trust, people we look up to, people we believe in, and the ability for them to sway our decisions and make our decisions in terms of what it is that we buy and who we buy from and when we buy it. And this is what I mean by the relationship. I'm going to go through research that we've done and some realities, I think 7 or 8 of them, that we found that actually highlight this shift of power from you owning your brand to actually the customer owning the brand. So power has shifted from companies to customers. Information is no longer one-directional. Today, customers can choose many peer-to-peer sources as part of their decision-making process. The internet has literally democratized information. The second, people are not focused on products. People don't want to buy things. They want to buy meaning. They want to buy purpose. People buy from brands that are aligned to their values, aims, and aspirations. If a business practices a culture that is not aligned to their values, they will veto it. This is a prevailing and long-term movement, and you can see that not only in terms of the culture of a company itself, but also in terms of what it's doing in the world. Are they environmentally friendly? Are they trying to help certain needy? Are they using non-toxic products? Do they, hurt animals when they produce their stuff? All sorts of things like that, and more sort of everyday mundane things as well. How they treat you when you go to their establishment. Are they generous and kind? They are buying meaning from businesses. They're not buying products. Now, why do they buy stuff? Well, they buy stuff to build their identities. So this meaning that we're talking about is to build their identities, who they are and what they believe in and what kind of person they are. So buying products is a means to building their own place in the world, to find a sense of belonging and purpose. This includes concepts such as cost consciousness or status seeking. It's not just for the privileged. It could be for everyday stuff, buying stuff from Carrefour or the co-op. It's that kind of identity that one is building for themselves. I'm a cost-conscious individual, or I am someone who has succeeded in life and I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. They're buying identities. Nobody likes being sold to. We've all had these annoying phone calls from online traders and all sorts of people, but we love to buy stuff. And this is a reality. If we try to sell things to people, we're going to get a kickback. We're not going to get them to engage. But if we make them feel that they need to buy this, that this is part of their identity, part of the meaning of their life, they would love to buy that. Customers want to feel that they made the choice to buy. The transaction wasn't forced. It was a decision to move ahead with a purchase that was both delightful and meaningful to them, an expression of themselves. And this is the thing in the digital world, in the social media world that we live in. They buy in tribes to feel safe and successful. When we talk about tribes here, we talk about groups, social groups of people. Customers seek belonging to a group. They'll make a purchase decision, become loyal and follow a brand based on this group aspiration. They identify with like-minded avatars like Ronaldo or leading personalities that adopt their values. That avatar doesn't have to be a person itself. It could be an ideal that we build as a company or we build as a cause, a purpose. That ideal then translates into a type of person, an avatar. And that's what they follow. And that's what they want to become part of. And we see that through everything. Apple is the most perfect example of that. And here's the thing, the battle is no longer between companies. If you think you're competing against another company, you're wrong. You're competing against another group of people who are buying this ideal. So the brand with the strongest tribe wins. Business needs to understand that they compete for share of the customer mind, not material. You're not competing for them to buy more products. You're competing to buy more of their mind. The more a brand matters to this mindset, the more value customers will put into it. And at the end of the day, it's all about value. Customers are connected through technology. Brands need to flow through technologies. This post-COVID or during COVID, we've seen everybody join the kind of digital transformation bandwagon, and rightly so, because everyone is online. And now that's not going to change. It's going to just get bigger and bigger. But it's not just being online. It's being able to flow through any technology so that you're in every part of your customer's life. Tribes are online. Communities and trusted networks are online. The battle frontline is there. And the more a brand navigates swiftly and seamlessly through them, the more advantage it has in winning the battles. And we know this, we call it innovation. The most successful brands are not static. Change, innovate, adapt, adopt, and reinvent. Customer expectations and behaviors expect agility and dynamism from today's brand. If you're stuck in a rut, they'll leave you behind. You have to follow them. And you have to create the precedents for them to follow you. And here's something that is extremely important, and I believe this is the last one. The customer compares you against the best in the world. Doesn't matter if you're in Oman or Dubai or Guatemala or London. They're online. They will compare you. They will benchmark you on a global basis. So benchmarking on a localized basis is no longer valid. Customers are connected to the world and will compare any product or service against the best in the world. So even if you are localized, you have to think globally. Amir, please go ahead.
Hi, Habib. Thank you. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'll put my points now. Okay, I was planning to put these questions at the end, but I have 2 points. You can answer them now or later. Okay, feel free.
Please go ahead.
The first is, how do you value the awareness in the region about the brands outside the 2 sectors, which is banking, okay, and telecom? Because I believe they are reasonably aware about brands management, okay, compared to the other sectors. So that's first question. The second question, I believe that brand management and the concept of the brand is quite important today in the public sectors and the public organizations and administrations than maybe even the private sectors, because the public sectors, they are more, I would say, under attack and, you know, from the public, okay, compared to the private sectors, and they need badly brand management. So I was thinking that, I know you are not covering that, but I thought of putting that, you know, perspective into the session. Thank you, Habib.
2 very, very good and valid questions. And I think, let me see what the next slide is. Yes.
Habib, the second part is covered, I believe,
yes,
in our last part.
Yes, absolutely. We do cover it top line, Amir, but I'll just quickly answer them anyways, if you don't mind. In terms of brand awareness, Omanis are extremely brand aware. I think the problem is a lack of choice at this moment in time. So they are aware of, with this slide here says it, they are aware of how to compare, they are aware of what is good and what isn't good. They're extremely switched on. They do want the best. I think it's just a matter of choice. I think in the region, both banking and telecoms have been prolific. However, we do lack a little bit in terms of choice of other products and services. And so I think that is just a matter of time before it changes. And I can debate that with you at a later stage.
Can I add something to that, Habib? What we've seen is what we've highlighted at the initial part of our presentation. The focus more was on the businesses provided either in the banking sector or even in the telecom sector. That's been seen across the board. If we look at Oman, we've done a bit of research on that. The customer, we looked at even the negative feedback that comes from the customers is mainly to do with services. So they're never heard. We come to the same dilemma that the customer is never heard. The assumption that the businesses know and understand what the customers want. But until we resolve that gap, the issue will remain the same. They focus on marketing more than doing or understanding the customers, and then accordingly customize their campaigns. So I hope we answered that question.
Well, yes and no. Sorry to intervene again. Why I'm saying, maybe I raise my questions because in my career for 1.5 years, in my 32 years career, I have been assigned the role to establish and manage a public relation department in a large organization, okay? And I realized that people generally outside the banking and the telecom, when I say people, I mean organizations here, not the public, okay, or the customers. They don't value the role of a brand manager and the concept of focus on managing the brand. They don't budget for it even. They are more focused on the normal marketing, you know, blah, 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 but not the brand. That was my point. Right. I think those two sectors, they do budget that. And because maybe they are more managed professionally, and you know they have that corporate image and corporate, you know, sort of let's say budget to manage their business, and that's why they are, you know, bother about it and spend and hire consultants or hire their own brand manager compared to the rest of the sectors. That's my opinion, but you are in the market and you know better, I'm sure.
Not at all. I think you've hit the nail on the head. To take what you're saying and summarize it in my own words, business regionally has always been a push the message. We create something, we build something, and now we want to sell it. And that's fine in a traditional sense. However, today the world has changed. And this is what I mean by choice. Choice is prolific. And what is important now for customers is this idea of meaning. However, the problem that we have right now is there's a gap between the understanding that the external perception of what it is that you do, the work of your business, is brand. We have a perception that brand is a gift wrap around what we do. It isn't. It's a DNA string. The DNA string is attached. If you pull the DNA string apart, it's not going to be as strong. So the idea that you're saying, Amir, is absolutely right. What you've observed is absolutely right. But it's not just Oman. It's not just UAE. It's not just the region. You know, I've worked all the way in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Jakarta, and so on. It is this lack of understanding or lack of investment in your external reputation through everything that you do. And it's more to do with just pushing information out rather than absorbing what your customer needs, wants, and values the most, and then adapting to that. And so when we see it that way, when we see that brand is your reputation, brand is your culture, and culture is your action, whatever it is and everything that you do, then business in this region will become a lot stronger. And then we will be able to export the wares and the troubles and the work of our business much more prolifically. And so this is part of our mission, by the way. This is what, you know, this is the awareness mission that we have. And I'll get into that later offline with you if you prefer. Now, in terms of public sector, it's not just here or this region. I mean, I'm originally Lebanese, and look at our public sector. It's awful, to say the least. I think public sector in general has taken a beating, and there's a lack of the lack of trust in the public sector. And I think public sector needs to be very aware that, especially their actions, because they represent the well-being and the care of people, their actions are going to be regarded in this way. They have to take care of, curate, and very much take care of their actions and reputation, and treat it like some of the best companies in the world treat their brand. And I think you're absolutely right in that. I think also education is the same. I mean, education matters to parents tremendously. And if education is seen as a business and it's only for the money and it's only for profit, even if it is only for that, it cannot be seen as that. It cannot just be for that. It has to have a higher cause, a higher purpose in order for it to become meaningful to customers. And I think the public sector in general needs to consider that kind of thinking. But I'll move on, and then we can debate that later on in the questions. Excuse me. Let's look at Oman. Let's look at these statistics that we saw earlier and those insights that we've presented to you, and look at Oman. What do we have? Well, we have actually more mobile users than people. 1 in 10 have 2 mobiles on average. So we have 5.72 million mobile users versus a population of less than that, I think. So we have 110% uptake, or almost 111 uptake on mobile users. $4.92 million internet users. That's 95% of your population. And 70% of them use the internet primarily on their devices. They're going the same place as the rest of the world. And here's the interesting statistic. 73.8, almost 74% of the population of Oman is between the age of 16 and 64. Of that population, the whole population, 41% are between the age of 20 and 45. And they've grown up on these devices. Oman has a fast-growing young urban population that are digitally connected. Their mindset and expectations are becoming increasingly global. Their benchmark is no longer what's good enough in Oman. Their benchmark is what's the best in the world. And that's an incredible statistic. You know, the population between 20 and 45, that's a massive opportunity for business. Part 3. So this brand value gap, and this is exactly what Amir, you pointed out, this kind of gap in our minds between the value of our business and the value of the brand. And is there any value to it that isn't already absorbed in the value of the business? So how can I demonstrate this to you in 2 or 3 very simple examples? And I'll use global examples because they're more known to everybody. But first, let's start with this statement. Brands connect with people when they stand for something more than what they do, something that has meaning and significance in the way people see and experience the world. Now, it's a very existential statement, but what do I mean by that? How can a business stand for something more than what they do? Is it a CSR campaign or a sort of charity thing that they give to? No, it isn't. It is more to do with the core purpose of that business, the creation of that business or the rethinking of that business, to do with adding value in people's lives through the work of that business. Adding value could be get people connected on the internet. It doesn't have to be saving the world from hunger. Yeah, but that value needs to be the actual core reason for why that business exists. And it has to be to deliver it to that customer. And out of that, people will onboard. That's something that is meaningful and significance in the way they see and experience the world is also interesting. A business cannot be for all people, whatever their age and so on. In the old days, we used to segment our customers. We used to say between 14 and 18, or this income group, or this location and so on. This can't happen anymore. You know, we all have mobile phones. A lot of us have probably iPhones or Samsungs, but so do our children. They use it for different things. And we use it for business. We use it for phone calls. They might use it for games. We cannot segment people, but what we can do is find a common significance, a common meaning that is universal to all these people that we want to cater to. And that's what this statement is about. And let me put it this way. If Red Bull had focused on creating a community of energy drink enthusiasts, do you think their brand would be worth the same? It's a question to you guys, and you can answer it in your own minds. If what they stood for and what they did was to create a community of energy drinking enthusiasts, would they be able to do what they've done? Drop a man from space, do extreme sports, be one of the leaders in F1. What has an energy drink got to do with any of that? That's the difference between meaning and product. This is what they have decided their purpose is. And their word for that is performance. They are a performance brand, not an energy drink brand. Obviously, it's linked to the fact that energy can help you perform. Let's look at the Tesla thing, and that's the sort of topic on a lot of people's minds, especially for the last couple of years. Why does Tesla account for over 40% of the market capital among the world's 12 largest car manufacturers? Some of them have been around for 100 years. How can they have a 40% share in just such a few years? Is it because Elon Musk is such a nice guy? Yeah, okay, but no. There's just some statistics here. This is their market cap, 406, and this was around August 2020, versus, I don't know, someone like General Motors, which is almost just a little over 10% of that. General Motors with all their various different brands. In fact, the funny thing is the next statistics. This is how much General Motors spends on advertising. This is also 2020, compared to what Tesla spends on advertising. And yet, I'll go back a slide. That's the market worth. So what are they doing? They're not advertising versus their competitors. So what are they doing? They're actually trying to connect with their customer. They don't care. They don't care about the competition. They're out there doing something that is different. And then everybody compares them on this basis, on the one on the left. But they only produce a tiny amount of cars. What's going on? It's very strange, isn't it? You know, you look at Volkswagen and how much they produce compared to Tesla, and this is in 2019. And I suppose it's probably more or less the same. But then when you look at electric vehicles, it's a completely different story. Actually, Tesla produces way more electric vehicles than any of the other manufacturers put together. And here's the trick. Tesla isn't selling cars. Just like Coca-Cola is not selling sugared water. What Tesla is selling is this. They're selling the transition to sustainable energy. That's what people are buying. They're buying it through their product, something that moves you, accelerates you from one place to another towards sustainable energy. That's the cause, the purpose. That's the customer mindset they are capturing, nurturing, and building. And the investor knows that, and the investor sees that. They're basically selling you a better future. And here's the product. It's planet friendly. So me as a buyer, I'm a good person because I care about the planet. That's why I'm buying Tesla. Furthermore, it's as easy to use as my iPhone, and it works beautifully. And you know what? I can get the whole family in it. And it's as fast as my neighbor's Porsche. It looks sporty and it's super fast. What more do I need? I'm ticking all the boxes here. And I'm buying a better future, not just for myself, but for the planet. That's the value. It's not the fact that the car has a V8 engine or leather seats or it only consumes this much petrol. It's the whole future customer mindset. My other example is Netflix. So how did they take Blockbuster's leadership position as the largest movie rentals company? I mean, Blockbusters, you know, when I was younger, they closed around 2010, but when I was younger, if you wanted to rent a movie at home, you had to go to Blockbusters. They were on every corner of every neighborhood of every major city. Netflix were nowhere to be seen. How did they just destroy them? So here's the little story, and you have to excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I just need a quick drink. Just give me one moment, I'm sorry. Thank you. So when Netflix launched way back in 1997, basically Blockbusters were the brand. They were the company, they were the champion, where anybody that wanted to rent a video would go there. And between 1985 and 1992, they grew from one shop in Dallas to 2,800 locations across the world. And as I said, they were in every main high street in every main city in the world. And Viacom bought them in 1994 for a whacking $8.4 billion. That's what they were valued at in 1994. Now, Netflix knew that they just couldn't compete against that. So what they decided is, instead of competing with them, why don't we work with them? And so they approached them to work with them. But Blockbusters gave them an offer that they just didn't want. First of all, they didn't give them enough money, 50 million. And also, they told them that they would become a division of Blockbusters, when Netflix knew that the future was completely different to how Blockbuster is seeing it. So the deal never went through. So in 2004, Blockbuster saw that the Netflix thinking, and Netflix at the time was an online platform, but with physical delivery. Blockbuster launched a Netflix-like DVD rental, because they had to, in those days we were doing DVDs. And they even abandoned this thing that they had, which was actually very lucrative for them, but very difficult for clients and customers. They used to charge you for late returns. So when you rented out the DVD or the VHS cassette, you had to pay extra for returning it late. It was a pet hate of their customers, but it was extremely lucrative for Blockbuster. In fact, it became one of the biggest revenue generators and profit generators for Blockbuster, because it didn't cost them anything. They had copies and copies of these videos. They didn't need them back, but they just kept on charging the customer for late returns. In 2006, Blockbusters had 2 million subscribers online and Netflix 6.3. So they were losing the battle. And back in 2007 or later in 2007, they brought back this late fee thing, and that just killed them. That just destroyed them. Customers, they were making it very difficult for customers to work with them. And this is what happened. In literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, they went from 6 billion to a zero bankruptcy. Meanwhile, Netflix grew and grew and grew, and we know what they are today. And the simple formula, there was a simple formula for that. Just make it easier for the customer. Think about how your business can add value to their everyday life. It wasn't about making a profit. Whereas Blockbuster was looking wow, we're making profits from this. We're making money from this. Let's keep it going. And this is something that, it's a quote from Forbes magazine. The irony is that Blockbuster failed because its leadership had built a well-oiled operational machine. It's crazy. A well-oiled operational machine, you'd think, would be able to take the market. It was a very tight network that could execute with extreme efficiency, but poorly suited to let in new information. They simply didn't listen to their customer. They simply didn't adapt or adopt new things that the customer wanted. So Blockbuster's profit had to be sufficient to sustain their existing model, their existing brick and mortars, employee staffing, and so on, as well as their pricing structure. Their profit also relied from this late fee, and they didn't want to get rid of it. Something that actually Netflix never had. Whereas Netflix, all they did was develop a business model that just simplified video renting for their customer. They took away all the hassle and gave all the benefit. They made it more enjoyable for customers actually to do business with them. Whereas Blockbusters only thought about maximizing their own returns. What do we learn from that? Next, Netflix focused on the future of what their customers want and how they will deliver it to them. They focused on meaning and significance to their customer. Whereas Blockbuster were comfortable with the lucrative model of their existing successful business. They were focused on efficient and profitable business model. And it didn't last long. And this is the key learning from them. There's a brand here in Dubai, and I think you guys are familiar with it. It's called Kafu. It's one of my favorite. They did exactly that. They made it so much easier for me to fill up my car. Unfortunately, I still have a petrol car, so forgive me. And it's a big car. So Kafu, on my phone, I can call the petrol station to come to me. They use already existing technology that Uber uses, GPS. They use existing ordering systems that any other online reseller or seller merchant does. And they simply put the petrol station in a truck. And that petrol station comes to you. And they give you appointments, and they just turn up, they fill up your car. You don't even need to worry about anything. They reinvented, like Netflix did, they reinvented their genre. They completely disrupted it, reinvented it, and they thought about actually how to make life more convenient, better, meaningful, easier, etc. for their customer. My last chapter is brands as cultural ambassadors. And it's a very short chapter, this, because it's really food for thought, and it touches on the idea of the public sector. I'll pose two questions here. I like starting slides with questions. Can business influence the perception of a country? Are brands able to portray the culture of a nation? It's two ways of looking at it. What is brand Oman in terms of the business or the businesses that exist in Oman? And what are the businesses that exist in Oman portraying about Oman? So when we look at these, we immediately know what they stand for. Made in the USA, Swiss made, made in Germany. Immediately you have triggers in your mind. You know what that stands for. You know the type of business you're going to deal with. You know the culture of the country. Business and culture are tied hand in hand. In today's world, they're tied hand in hand. We identify qualities that are directly associated with the origins of those brands. So the spirit of a nation, its focus and qualities are embodied in its business culture. When we think Swiss made, it's easy. We think precision instruments, watches. And business actually can influence the value, both positively and negatively, of a nation. The success of business in exporting its brand actually influences the origin nation's ranking. And that's how they calculate it. They calculate it based on goods and services, openness to tourism, market size, and trade rules. We know this. But they also look at society, quality of life, corruption or the lack of it, and cultural image of the place. They look at investment, or how easy it is to invest there or to grow your business there. The talent retention, use of technology, R&D, taxation, and regulation. This is how business and nation are judged. And this is how they rank the various different countries. So when we see Swiss made, it's based on these sorts of things. My question is here, or my comment is this, and this is my wrap-up slide. It is still a matter of perception based on what your audience, this is your customer, thinks, feels, and experiences, even at a national level. It is still a brand. And this is how we have to see it. We have to see our business from the customer's perspective. We can't keep looking at what we do as what we do. We have to look at what we do as why it matters to our customer, why it matters in this world. What are we leaving behind? Thank you very much.
We can start taking questions.
Very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Habib, for this very informative and fruitful presentation. Mr. Saleh Al-Shamfari, please go ahead.
Thank you, Habib. This is quite informative and very educational, in fact. I came from the food industry. Basically, I started a number of brands in food. First one was Safa Food. Second one was Mazoon Dairy, which is a leading dairy company here. And the third one is, Bushra as a branded meat, and Fal, which is the first branded meat in the whole Middle East, and so on. So what strikes me that the people will always be looking for an alternate brand in case there is one. Say in the dairy sector, for example, we've seen the eagerness to find a local brand, and this is exactly what we did. The Mazoon Dairy that we have developed depicts the old historical name of Oman, which is Mazoon. And then we have used the panoramic background of the old Omani villages to tell the people this is local, this is Omani, this is fresh, this is coming from next door, and this is your green. And exactly like you say, that we have focused heavily on circular economy, C2C, and zero waste as a built-in into the brand itself. And the message has been quite impressive. When we started from day one, 24 months ago, last week we just celebrated our second year in the go-to-market. And we started from 20,000 liters per day. And today we're around 280,000 in a matter of 24 months. So it was heavily investment on the brand, heavily investment on the brand, what is called brand equity, which I require your comments on. You know, the concept of brand equity as such. You know, that's basically what I'm leading to learn from you and to hear from you. What is brand equity and how can we really qualify it and quantify it in a very disruptive market that is continuously in evolution? Thank you, Habib.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your brands, and I hope they continue to be successful. For me, there are two observations. I think, especially in food, because it has to do with health and well-being, you may need to remember that eating habits will change. So, you know, today we might drink dairy milk, and as you know, health advice and as eating habits change, we might end up not wanting to drink dairy products, animal products. How will your brand be able to absorb that, capitalize on that, evolve from that? Should you be thinking that your brand is simply a dairy producer, or is it more to do with good food? So this is just food for thought for you. In terms of brand equity, brand value, you saw the Coca-Cola, that's called the brand value. That's how they value the brand. In terms of brand equity, it's the importance, significance, and meaning your customer has for your brand. So the more important it is for them, and there's a way of measuring that, the more important it is for them, the more meaningful it is for them, the more, let me put it another way, if they can't live without it, your equity is extremely high. And yep, it's from a customer perspective. Equity is literally the value that a customer puts on the work that you do and how important it is for them on a daily basis or in particular situations. And that's the difference. So, you know, you have a market valuation, which is the value, and you saw that with Coca-Cola. And equity is basically the goodwill, reputation value, as you know, from the perspective of the customer. I hope that answers your question.
A great answer, thank you.
At least that's what I know.
No, well, very educational.
Saleh, as Habib mentioned, there are ways to measure it. Maybe time will not allow us to demonstrate that, but we're willing to look into it on offline, inshallah.
Yeah, if you're looking for a business, yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Great. We'll wait for that.
Thank you very much, Engineer Saleh. I think, Mr. Hafid, if you would like to add anything, we don't have a lot of questions or anyone was raising at the moment. So if you would like to come up with any intervention.
I think all's been covered. We're expecting to hear from the audience.
Okay.
If there's any clarification required, or if they are constrained with time, we can look into those, as I mentioned at the beginning, prior to the session, that we can look into those on a separate note.
Yeah, we have Mr. Mustafa Sultan. Mr. Mustafa Sultan, please go ahead.
Thank you for excellent presentation and very nice example of Tesla and Netflix. If sometime you need to create your brand, you need more products and this, but sometimes what we have in the regulatory part, it's not helping you. They have no such regulation for these new products you want to launch or ease way, and then you're stuck, you cannot come out. If you launch it, you are in a way of fire, afraidness, how to increase this your brand and this. How you suggest we can deal with this issue?
It's a very difficult situation. I'll just give my input, and then Hafid, I mean, you know, the Oman, you know, the Oman landscape a lot more than I do. I think in any country, there are regulations and there are parameters and limitations as well as opportunities. And we need to work within that landscape. The essence of it is that whatever you do, building the brand is basically building your business and its reputation externally. The opportunities that you have, if they're limited because of what's what the public authorities are limiting you to, then we look for, and I say that in the business sense, creative ways of navigating that, of being able to deliver what we really want to deliver as an experience to our customers in a different way, going around the parameters that we have. And that's basically how we engage and how the customer will experience our product. So yes, I understand the limitations. I understand that in a lot of situations, you might not be able to do what is ideal to get your brand, to get your products to the market the way you want, ideally. But we work within the parameters that we can, and there's always a way. There's always a way to sort of navigate things and get to the customer. It's just a matter of innovation and creativity.
Thank you. I'm
sorry.
in banking sector. Yeah, I know it's not easy. I'm in banking sector.
I can't say no.
And everyone know the limitation we have in Oman in that sector. This is why we could not create so many new products, or that we could not fly with our brands, most of them, to better good level.
There's a way, Mr. Mustafa. I think it all goes back to understanding your customers. There is a way through it. I believe today, we've mentioned that the business has to evolve. The clients are evolving really in a very quick pace. In 2 years, what happened during COVID, it was anticipated to happen maybe in about 5 years from 2019, but it just happened. It went so quick that hardly all the companies are struggling. I think when it comes to that, very few made it over COVID, and they won't exceed 10 companies globally that made it through. So I think we just need to go back and reflect on what our consumers are looking for and what are the channels that will be required. It goes at some point to the how we do circulate that message and how often we engage with our customers, just to understand their needs and how to reach them. So there is a way to it. There is a way to it.
Correct, but you cannot go costly way. You will end before that.
Not necessarily.
I think at the end of the day, as long as your customer feels special and important, and that could be done through customer service, it could be done through understanding their challenges and seeing if there was, I don't know, a way that people can help each other. That overcomes a lot of the obstacles, and that actually creates, a stronger connection between you and your customers. So yes, the product might be limited, and you're not able to change the product or adapt, evolve the product because of legislations and so on and so forth. But I think the way that you deliver that product and the way that you engage, on a human level with your customer, and the way that you receive them, care for them, can actually help to maintain your market share and keep them coming back, retain your customer. It's fine creating a customer, but you have to retain that customer. And so if we're stuck, then the best way to do it is to just make them feel special, give them time, give them some kind of, share of share of time where they feel special. People don't like free gifts, believe me. Okay, free gifts are cheap. Everything for free, nobody wants. But what they do want is to feel special. And really, it's understanding the customer and what makes them feel special. And if you can deliver on that, then do that, because that just raises the value of everything that you do.
No, yeah, that's we do what we do, but sometimes you have limited product. They're flying with another provider, even outside of the country, which is now it's easy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa. We'll take another question from Engineer Amir. Please go ahead.
Habib, I'm not sure if there is a clear answer to my question now, okay? But the question in simple way, how much I should budget of my operational expenses for my marketing and brand management? Okay, I'll give you an example. I used to be, or I like interior design and furnishing. I tried to convince people, I started such business, I failed in it because I found people do not believe that they need to spend 20% of total cost of their home on furniture, because furniture is a final image and look of how home compared to the structure work. So again, when you go to normal any business, regardless whatever is the sector, how much is the range people should spend on marketing and on brand management?
I mean, in terms of marketing, if we use the traditional meaning of that, like for example, advertising, look at Tesla. They don't spend money on advertising. However, I would say that whatever money you spend or you decide to spend, you cannot forget tactical communication. You have to keep people informed on a regular basis in the short term. And I think also you cannot then forget your long-term strategy and long-term plans either. So, in today's world, what we talk about is the kind of tactical stuff and the strategic brand management stuff. You want to grow your brand, and you also want to grow your sales and grow your market share. And I think they should be equal. And this is something that, we've discussed, and I read about it and everything like that. They should be equal, hand in hand. Now, the problem is that on the tactical, you are, you can get the results. So you put out a campaign, you do a certain promotion and so on, the sales come back, you can measure it. On the long term, how do you measure that? How do you measure the success of your brand over 10 years, 5 years, and so on? All these efforts that you've put in, all that budget that you've put in, how do you measure that? And that's where it becomes difficult. Now, in your mind, keep it as a 50-50 exercise. And I think you'll see both are growing, both the value of your brand, the equity in the consumer's eyes or customer's eyes, as well as the fact that you are gaining market, your sales are going up. If you forget one over the other, it's not good just to focus on brand only, and it's not good just to focus on the marketing of product only. You have to nurture both of them because they're part and parcel of everything that you do. Now, in terms of percentages, a luxury brand will, put a very high percentage in their marketing, whereas a real estate company would only put a few percent. And it depends on the size of your company. If it's a very small company and you only spend a small percentage, that money's not going to get you very far. But if you're a massive company and you spend a small percentage of your budgets, that budget is still going to be significant. I think you need to look at it the other way around. I think you need to look at it in terms of what you want to achieve in the short term, like I just suggested, and what you want to achieve in the long term. And the long term is a sort of tick over, simmering budget. And the short term, at least then you can qualify, I'm looking for these results and these results and these results, and you can get budgets to help you achieve that. I hope that's answered it. It's a very difficult question.
In in theory, if you are to segregate it, if I put it in a single equation, it's the average spend globally is about 5% from your revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about 5%. So it starts from 3% all the way in 10%. If I refer to the initial examples of banking and communication, they go up to 10%. But again, what Habib said is correct. It's how you segregate that equally between your brand and the tactical marketing.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Engineer Amir. Another question from Mr. Khalid Al-Farsi. Mr. Khalid, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Habib, for your brand presentation. It was really a success one. And this is Khalid Al-Farsi from Mazoon Dairy Company. As Engineer Saleh was mentioned regarding our operations starting for the last 2 years, where we achieved and we reached somehow almost 40% of Oman market share. I believe that brand success was strategically done very well before the operation started, and it made high demand, in fact, before we started the operation. I have two challenges here where may you help me on it. There is almost 30% of our market, which you call it that expat population of Oman. Yes, on Omani local brand, it's been success among most of Omani nationals. Our challenge to compete with the competitors in Oman and reach the expat community, which it is almost 30% of the population. Second challenge, I would like to hear from you if you can help me on reaching that. See, I came from a background of working in Coca-Cola, in Al-Safi Danone, Carrefour, Nissan, Toyota, where these brands is multinational brands. And I've been working with them for several years, which is more than 25 years currently. Being in Mazoon for the last 2 years, yes, I want to reach somehow to compete out of the country and do something globally. How we can reach something like this high brand across global. It is possible. There is a way like how we can reach it from food perspective and point of view as a dairy company. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. Yes, there are several layers there. First of all, you're growing a market share in Oman, and there is a reason for that. And one needs to understand that reason in terms of everything that I have presented today. What is the mindset that's buying into this? Why is it important for them? Is it a national thing, a certain national pride, or is it a cost-conscious thing because your price point and the way that you're selling is very good for them? We need to understand that. Second is we need to understand why the expats are not taking on the product. In other words, what alternatives do they have and why are they buying those? Is it because there's something wrong with what you do, or is it because they are just not your customer at all? We have to find and understand that customer and what their mindset is and what their aims are. Once we do that, you can then understand how your company can actually work towards bringing them on board. Now, in terms of international, well, that's why that last chapter was in my presentation. you know, if we want to export our brand, it is very much linked with our culture. You know, people buy into culture. When, you know, when we eat French food, it's because it's French. When we wear Italian suits, it's because it's Italian. And there's a whole provenance, there's a whole history and origin behind that. And that was created over time, consciously or unconsciously. So what is it that your brand represents? You know, are you saying you're from Oman, or are you saying you're Arabian? Are you saying you're just a very good dairy? We need to understand that as well, because all of that has influence. All of that has very significant, how can I say, traction, or the lack of traction with your customer, with your potential customer. So it's not a simple question of what, again, you know, this is long-term brand building versus sort of medium to short-term market growth. You are already established in your market. You want to grow it. You're doing the right thing. You just need to get it there in front of your customer on a continuous basis and make them feel that you're the one that they should buy and you're important to them. And that's working for you. But the other stuff is all about really understanding this completely different world of thinking. Their mind, you know, their share of mind is somewhere else. Do you see where I'm going with that? Their share of mind is somewhere else. How do you grab that share of mind and make yourself the most important part of that? When they're making that purchase decision, they're choosing something else. Why is that the choice? Why is that important for them? Now we need to just grab that and make our choice much more important. And those are the layers that I just mentioned. I'm not going to repeat myself with that, but those are the layers, Khalid, that are important. I know it doesn't give you a solution. My answers are very rhetorical. I'm sorry.
No, thank you very much. Really, it is interesting. Mainly the experts, especially because when they enter to the country, they will have unknown brands for them because they are coming from different countries. Where in their countries they will have different brands, and when they enter to Oman, so they have to be familiar with different brands, which is local or coming from outside the country. An example, when I was working in Carrefour, so we used to bring from France some cheese and brands which are available in France itself. Coca-Cola also, that is a part of it. So thank you very much. It wasn't.
Just to add to that, Khalid, before we wrap up this conversation, you know, I just demonstrated that 80% of online buyers will take the recommendation of friends and family. Now, maybe your market isn't the new expats that are coming in. Maybe the market that you should be looking at right now in the shorter term is the already existing expats and getting to become a part of their life and then getting them to recommend your product to the new entrants. So this could be, you know, this could be a way around it, and this could be a thought that you could maybe, you know, work on. I don't know if that would work or not.
Yeah. Is globally or internationally, if like an example, there is Red Bull, there is different names of brands, something like Coca-Cola and different Carrefours or known brands, I mean. So it may help if we do join ventures outside of the countries. It may help on building a brand.
Many things could help. It just really goes back down to investigating it and looking into it at a deeper level. Sometimes aligning with another brand can be as bad as not aligning with anybody, because you know, it might put you astray, and then you start looking at, you know, selling and market rather than building your brand. So I would be careful with that, and I would choose my partners.
Engineer Khalid, I think it's always good to look back at your objectives and strategies as well. Today, I think the key challenge in many brands is that one way of communication. I go back to this and I emphasize a lot on it because that's a fact and that's been proven by research, especially in our market here. A one-way communication, it shows by evidence today that it doesn't work. You really need to interact with your customers. There is a good segment that you haven't tackled and you don't know about. So you need to discover that. Maybe that 40% of your market share has maybe only 10% of that population. So you need to look for more. We spoke about the population, the numbers in population. Have you looked at those between the age of 15 and 45? They are very much influenced with what's happening around them. Okay, so use the right media channel to reach the right audience. And then you will see you can test the buying power after that. And it doesn't matter whether locals or expats. Now we're talking about any local product today has been, how can I say, customized or catered to the global market, and not necessarily just looking at the locals.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Habib.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We have both Mr. Saleh Al-Shamfari and Mr. Simon Karam. So we will take Mr. Saleh Al-Shamfari, and then we will take the last question by Mr. Simon Karam and his summary as well of the session, as we are used to do this with him every session. So Mr. Saleh Al-Shamfari, please go ahead.
Yeah, unusually I'll make it very short.
No worries.
Okay. No, well, look, local content does make a difference. I mean, this is maybe half of the sort of comment. When we design our brands, yes, we look at a global dimension, but locally, we've seen that local response, when you really cater and design your brand toward gaining more local brand equity, then local content quite important. And then that's why you get the right name, the right colors, the right messages, the embedded messages, the subliminal sort of messages that you want to have. But that's more of a comment. Thank you.
Absolutely right, sir. It's just global mindset.
Yes.
You know, could be anywhere in the world. You're proud of your own nation's, work. So it's absolutely right what you said.
Yeah, Mr. Simon Karam, please go ahead.
Thank you, Habib. First, let me start with a personal question, because you are of Lebanese origin and I'm of Lebanese origin and I'm Omani now, by the grace of God. Are you by any chance from Mijdlaya in the north of Lebanon? Because the Beaini family are I think they're originated from there, but you may not want to answer that as you wish.
No, I don't mind, sir. No, we're originally from Mount Lebanon, and the closest city on the coast is Byblos, Jbeil.
Wow, because I don't know if you know, but in near Zgharta, you have Mijdlaya, and the majority of people there are Beaini. They are not as familiar with business and brands as you.
Yes, because by the grace of God, I grew up in Britain, and I'm also British.
Good. Now, definitely there has been a shift. You see, I used to buy things that I need, the product, consider it and consider its price. My children now, they, as you said, they buy to belong to a tribe. They buy to follow a personality. They buy because of an influencer. So there is definitely a shift even in generations, maybe because of technology, as you said. Another observation is that, okay, Kafu is a great application, but what about the price? It costs you more. And during all this presentation, the price played very little role, although it is comprehensive of so many things. Now, my worry is that people who know how to manipulate big data create certain market and certain that are not really needed. Yani I feel that we are pushing society to buy more things that they don't really need because they want to belong, simply to belong. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But comes to my mind an observation made, I think, by George Bernard Shaw. I'm not so sure. When he entered the supermarket and he said, wow, there are so many things that we don't need. Yeah, okay, and finally, and it's a sad thing, you made me realize that the brand of my business does not belong to me. It belongs to the customer, as you said.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But really, it's a very profound presentation. And Ezri, if you have no comment on what I said, I will, following Rehan's desire and instructions, I would like to brief a little bit, a very rich presentation and very profound. So the question is, what's the relationship between business and brand? And you made us think of three questions initially, before you start your 4 chapters. Has the purpose of business changed in today's world? Is there a new formula for success in today's digital era? And how can we respond to create more value? And you asked the question, what has brand got anything to do with this? And you started part 1, which is defining the relationship between business and brand. And we said the main purpose of business is to make profit, which is to sell products and services to customer, to get more people to buy more stuff for more years at a higher price. And business is centered on people, you said, externally and internally. And I liked very much the citation that you gave from Peter Drucker. The purpose of business is to create and keep a customer, but more importantly, profit is the test of its validity. That's so well worded. It's amazing. A customer's impression, therefore, of a business is called a brand. The way a customer thinks, feels about, and experiences a company, a product or service is the brand. But the brand, we have to be careful, as you said, it also includes people internally. And you gave the very good example of McDonald's, where it was a counter reaction, because of low wages and salaries. In part 2, you define the new customer's power because of statistics and because of technology, and you gave amazing numbers about how many people use their phone and they use technology, and this is how the customer became not only, a receiver, he becomes also an editor. He participates. Now, you made 9 observations. The power has shifted, therefore, people are not focused on products they want. They want to be, they look for brands aligned with their values. Customers buy products to build their identities. They hate being sold, but they have to buy, the transaction was not to be forced on them. It is their own choice. They buy in tribes to feel safe and successful. The battle is no longer between companies, but between tribes. I like that. We stopped fighting in tribes in Oman long time. Customers are connected through technology. Brands need to flow through technologies. The most successful brands are not static. They change, innovate, adapt, adopt. The customer compares you against the best in the world and not against what is available in the market anymore. In part 3, you talked about the brand value gap and how successful businesses transcend the product and go to something more important, like Red Bull, focus on performance. Of course, implicitly they say energy, you know, is good for performance. Tesla, we gave some fantastic examples. Netflix. And in part 4, you suggested that brands are also cultural ambassadors. Can business influence the perception of a country? Are brands able to portray the culture of Oman? Businesses or business and culture are tied hand in hand. It is still a matter, you concluded that, of perception based on what your audience, customer thinks, feels, and experiences. Wow, what a presentation. Thank you, Habib. Thank you so much. And you are welcome to Majlis al-Khonji, you and Hafiz. As you have probably seen, our Majlis receives many eminent people like yourself on various topics, whether it is the history of cinema in Oman, to many talks were on COVID. You know, we hope to see many people like you in our Majlis. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having
Thank you
us.
so much. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Simon, for this summary. Dear guests, we have reached to the end of our session. Thank you, Mr. Habib and Mr. Hafiz, for the very informative and interesting presentation and talk. And thank you, our guests, for your active participation. See you in the next Saturday with Professor Abdullah Dair and his presentation about topic about coronavirus. Are we at the end? Until we see you next Saturday, keep safe and goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jazakumullah khair.
Thank you very much.
شكراً جزيلاً.